Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Visionary Thoughts Podcast. I am your host, Daniela, and I am so happy that you are here. It's been such a long time since I've posted an episode of Visionary Thoughts, but I am so glad to be back and better than ever. This season on Visionary Thoughts, we're going to take a whole new approach at podcasting. The episodes are going to look different, the length is going to look different, the vibe is going to be different. I feel like the time that I've had off from posting the podcast has been very reflective for me in the style that I want to do this. And so I am so excited. In the previous season, I would write out an entire script and basically use a teleprompter to do the podcast episode. And I found that while I found that it was really good for practicing my intonation and keeping a cohesive theme throughout the entire episode, I found it to be kind of counterintuitive to how real I want to be. So now what's changed is I have written down an outline with questions that I will answer about the podcast topic. And I am not using a teleprompter, so I guess we'll see how that goes. The structure of the episode is going to be a little bit different. I hope it's still going to be insightful, but in this way, I hope that I hope that you, my audience, gets a different feel and gets to know me better as a person and not just a person that's reading from the script and saying what's on the screen. I think that my speaking cadence has bettered since that time. I don't know. I hope it's better in a way, but I am just so excited to be back. So, new thing that I want to implement here on Visionary Thoughts is last time we would do a gentle reminder at the beginning of the episode, which is kind of like an intention, which we are still going to do. I'm so excited that we are keeping the gentle reminder. I'm going to be adding a new section for you, the audience, to get to know me as a person. I'm going to do a peek and a pit. So basically, a good thing and a bad thing from the week. And this behind me is Charlie. He is joining us for today's episode. As you can see, today we are in my living room. I used to record the podcast episode either in my living room or I would do it in my office, but my office is going through some changes right now, so it's going to be a little bit of a while before I do an episode in there. But meanwhile, I feel like having you here in my living room with me is going to feel a lot more natural. And so I'm just so excited. And let's get into it. This week, we are going to talk about consistency. And I know this is a little bit strange coming from me since I haven't done a podcast episode in a couple of months, but I will tell you why. Today, we are going to talk about consistency, not in a way where you show up every day, although that is what consistency is. I am going to talk about the power of showing up again. Okay, if you have a dream, if you have been in pursuit of something great and you've faltered in showing up every single day, I hope this episode will resonate with you. Today, let's start with a peak and a pit of the week. A pit that I felt for the past few months, and that is not being consistent with my podcast. And for various reasons, so many things came up. I tried to really plan ahead, but things weren't just falling in the timeline. And I felt a lot of self guilt, a lot of self doubt because I wasn't sticking to something that I said I would. At the beginning of the year, on January 25th, I launched Visionary Thoughts podcast, and I had produced an episode every week for maybe about a month, and then it would be every 2 weeks, and then every 3 weeks, and then it kind of just dwindled down from there because life just got in the way. I had things with family, things with the house, things that were just needed and required my immediate attention. But I am back and I'm better than ever. The peak of the week is a couple days ago, I went on a color walk. And if you are unfamiliar with a color walk, it is basically where you go on a walk and you pick a color the color of the day was yellow, and I took pictures and tried to spot things that were yellow. And at the beginning, I found, like trash, caution signs. I found things that were just like unnecessary, things that were written down in the concrete or utility poles. And then things got very interesting. While I was on this walk, I was thinking a lot about the podcast, about my social media career, and just about the direction that I want my life to go in. I was thinking about my life, and I started this thing on TikTok where I share a mini speech every single day until I give a TED Talk. And this is a very big dream that I am sharing with the world. And this is a way for me to put myself out there, to practice my public speaking, and to just share a good message with my audience for that day. So, in this color walk, I started to think a lot about my social media career, and then a lot of self doubt creeped in. I started thinking, so many people are doing this. There are better people out there that are giving TED Talks, and there is just no space. This was all of the self doubt talking. But then, as I was actively walking and seeking the color yellow, and then just going through this rabbit hole of self doubt thoughts, I saw a beautiful pasture of beautiful and bright and vibrant sunflowers. And I thought, wow, this is the answer to my prayer. I said in my prayer that there was no space for me, and here was God showing me that there is enough space. All of the sunflowers that were in the ground, they were all on different levels of growth. There was some flowers that were wilted, some sunflowers that were barely blooming, some that were in full bloom, some that were growing from the same stem. There was sunflowers that were growing from the concrete on the side. There was some sunflowers that were wilted. There was some that were squished and stepped on, but there were some that were just blooming, and I saw the answer that I needed for that day. There's enough space for you. There is enough space for me, and you can try again. So that was my pick and pit of the week. Let me know what was the best and worst part of your week down in the comments below. For this episode, before we get into consistency, let's start with a gentle reminder. I am here today to tell you, I hope that you are able to feel inspired. I hope that you are able to feel peace. And I hope that you are able to open your heart and your mind to the message that I have for you today. I hope that you will receive this message in the way that it's meant to, and that it resonates with you, and that you are able to take actionable steps towards your goals today and every day. Without further ado, I am your host, Daniela, and welcome to Visionary Thoughts. This is a place where you can come and hang out and feel inspired and know that everything starts in the mind, and that when we program our thoughts, we are able to alter our reality to a life full of joy, happiness, and abundance. So, without further ado, I am your host, Daniela, and let's get into it. So, today we are going to touch on three main topics. We are going to talk about the power of consistency and showing up again. We are going to talk about potential and lessons in nature. And we are going to talk about repetition. I love this quote by Sophia Bush, where she states that you are able to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. Know that whatever you are pursuing in your life, you can show up, you can try again, and even if you fail or you miss a day or you miss a couple of months, it is okay. Because if you live to see another day, you are able to try and try and try again. What would your life look like if you stopped second guessing your potential and just grew like a tree does, freely, fully, and without comparison? When I was on my color walk, I told you that I noticed a bunch of flowers and a bunch of sunflowers that were on different stages of growth. Some were blooming, some were wilted, some were not even blooming yet, some were barely literally sprouting from the ground. And there was just so many flowers in different stages of life and growth. A flower does not think of competing with the flower right next to it. It just blooms. I believe that there are a lot of lessons in nature, and I believe that God modeled the world so that we can learn from it. And when I see trees around my neighborhood, around nature, I see and notice that trees are resilient. They grow to the fullest of their potential. Nature's consistency is all about potential, and it is all about consistency, because I believe that when you plant a seed and it starts to form the roots, the leaf or the branch or the sproutling is what you see last, right? First, you plant the seed, then you nurture the seed, then the seed grows its roots, and then it sprouts. And one thing that I always am fascinated about nature is that nature just is. It naturally is big and beautiful and mighty. Nature does not second guess itself, it just grows. And I notice this a lot because when I'm walking around my neighborhood through the cracks of the concrete and through the separation, I see little weeds growing. I see little leaves, little pieces of grass growing within the rocks, within the concrete. And I believe that we as humans really tend to second guess ourselves, and that is because we have the burden of choice. We choose to not do the things that we are supposed to do. Instead, we do the things that we believe we should do, or we are doing the things that we are commanded to do, to follow rules, to go along with society, and to, in a way, limit our growth and our beliefs. But truly, what would life look like if you stopped second guessing yourself? This is a question that I write about in my journal very often because I want to live life to the fullest potential. I want to live on the highest, most best timeline. And up until now, I believe I have faltered in some way or another. But I love my life and I believe that it is so beautiful and so abundant. But I know that there is more that I can do. But this goes back to the burden of choice. There are some things that I choose to do every day, and there are some things that I choose to not do every day. And that in turn reflects on my life. It reflects on my habits. It reflects on the trajectory of my life and the choices that I make. Nature is one way where I am reminded that it is okay to be on your own journey of growth. What would life look like if we stopped second guessing ourselves and we just do? What would it look like? Only you would know what your life would look like. What it would look like for me? I don't know actually what it would look like for me. I believe that it would be bigger and brighter. Maybe I would be a lot farther along. Maybe I would have given a TED talk by now. I have no idea. But what I do know is what I can do today. And what I can do today is try the best that I can, do the things that I know I can do, not stretch myself out too thin, focus on priorities, and grow freely. With growth comes pain. The growing pains are true, they are real, and they are pains. And I believe that in these recent months, I've had a lot of self reflection. I have had a lot of time to truly know what I want to do, what I hope my impact is, and what I am capable of. Even though I wasn't podcasting and doing the social media thing seriously and consistently, I know that I have a dream and that with work, the dream can and will come true. And that is what I hope for you. Be like nature. Don't overthink. Don't look at the flowers. Just grow. Reach for the sun, reach for the stars, reach for the heavens, and don't worry about what other paths people are on or what you are lacking. You lack nothing. Everything you need is exactly within you, and you will get there someday, wherever your journey is taking you. You will get there, but it just takes a little bit of effort consistency, and grace. While I was in university, I studied a lot of philosophy. My favorite philosopher of all time is Aristotle. And Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." I believe this to be completely true. I noticed that when I do something repeatedly, it becomes my second nature. The best example that I have of this is when I was 14 years old. I wanted to keep a document and a journal of my life. I was going through so much as a growing young woman, and I felt so many feelings, and I couldn't just voice them to anybody. So I resorted to a journal. When I kept a journal, it would be very inconsistently at first. I would write when something would go wrong or when something would go right or when my feelings were just so strong that I needed to just put them on paper. One time I was in a summer camp and our camp leaders actually advised us to keep a journal entry every single day of camp. The camp lasted 1 week, so it was only 7 journal entries. And so I kept a journal for that week and I loved the challenge. I loved being in the camp, learning the things, and writing my thoughts, feelings, observations on my journal. And I did it consistently for those 7 days. And when I got home from the camp, I read my journal entries and I found that my feelings were very strong as a 14-year-old girl and that journaling was an outlet for me. And so I made the vow that every single day I was going to write in my journal. And from the ages of 14 to 16, I kept a journal every single day. I still have those journals. And when I look back on them, I realized that I was very mature for my age. I felt so much and I was very wise. I learned that I kept a bare minimum for myself when I had this goal to journal every single day. I told myself I'm going to journal every single day. The bare minimum that I will do every single day is write the date and 2 sentences. There are some days in my journal where there's only 2 sentences on the page, and then there are other days where there's 4, 5, 6 pages of feelings and thoughts and observations as a young girl. I believe that that act of setting a bare minimum really helped me when it came to repetition. I truly believe that repetition rewires your brain. This is where I learned that consistency does not have to be perfect. It just has to be constant and it just has to be present. And I feel like as a young girl, that was just a really big lesson that if you want to do anything in life, you have to do it consistently and you have to set yourself up for success. And the way that I've done this is by helping my future self. So I set that goal of writing the date and 2 sentences every single day. I remember during COVID times, I worked a job that I really did not like. And the only thing that would keep me sane during that time is going to the gym and obviously keeping my journal. So I worked from 8 to 5 every single day, and my commute was 30 minutes each way, which means I needed an hour before work to get ready and get going, and then an hour after work to come home, decompress, get started on dinner, hang out with my husband, and do all of that stuff. And I had to really be very disciplined because I did not like the job, but it wasn't fair to exert that negative energy in the office space. I didn't want my office manager to know that I was having a bad time. I didn't want the attorney that I worked for to know that I didn't like the work. I definitely did not want the clients that I was working with to know that I don't enjoy the work that I was doing. They are going through such a tough time when you are going through any type of court proceedings, and a bad attitude on my end was definitely not the answer. So I practiced the art of being my own butler. And what does that look like? I developed a consistent skill to set my clothes out before the gym, to set my office clothes out also. I set my pre workout on my nightstand. I set my alarm for 4:30 a.m. so I can go to the gym at 5. So I can be home by 6 so that from 6 to 7 I can get ready from work. From 7 to 7:30 I can drive for work, and then from 7:30 to 8 I can be ready and prompt and make up for any traffic delays or snow delays or anything that could be unexpected on the way. And the way that that was possible is I set up my clothes for the gym all set and ready in the order that I was going to wear it. I set up my pre-workout on my nightstand. I set my alarm on my phone in the restroom so that I can get up and I can do the act of physically pressing the snooze button. And to press it, I had to wake up. And so now that I was up, I can do everything else in order. I found this to be such a good practice for me because that is how I went consistently to the gym at 5 a.m. every single day for 6 months while I was at this job until I resigned. And I kept up the act even after because it just felt so good for me to actually just show up for myself and put myself first before I give myself to my job. This rewired my brain in a way where I developed integrity and deep confidence in myself, in my abilities, and in what I do. And so, if you are struggling with consistency, definitely try the act of being your own butler because I guarantee you it works. Prepare for success, and success is certain. This next question is going to touch on being graceful with yourself, being patient, and just trusting the process. What are you preparing for even when you feel like you are procrastinating? Could rest, service, or stillness be part of your preparation? And this is something that I truly believe. I heard in a speech a while ago from Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. He said, when nothing is happening, something is happening. And this is something that I really felt during these couple months that I took off from being on social media. I had a lot of time of rest. I had a lot of time with family, helping them out, and I had a lot of time to do service and volunteering. And even then, I wasn't focused on my main goal of putting out a podcast episode every single week for my audience, but I was serving in a different way. And even then, I wasn't focused on my main priority, but I was still doing something that was good. I was still doing something that was productive and that was essential for my self reflection and my personal progress. I want to remind you that if you are procrastinating doing something in related to your career or wellness or goals or aspirations or anything like that, but you are preoccupied with other things, know that those other things also have value and you are also being present in that moment. Back in April, I took time off from the podcast and from my home so that I can go to Mexico and be with my grandma as she's going through some changes in her home. They're remodeling her home, and I went to go lend a helping hand. And as I was there, I reconnected with my roots, I reconnected with my family, and I found out that what is actually important is to be present. And when I am present and my full attention is in what I am doing, I truly feel happy. I am present with you right here in this moment. I was present then in that moment. I tried to not let the self doubt and the procrastination and the negative self talk consume me because I was doing something that was good and I had been blessed with the time, energy, and effort to do so. And even that has value. The idea of consistency doesn't always look productive. It could be writing down your thoughts, it could be writing down the date, it could be writing those two sentences out, it could be setting out your clothes, it could be that you went in with the intention of doing all these things and you even prepared for it, but then it just didn't end up happening, and that's okay because Tomorrow is a brand new day and you have another opportunity. You might have wanted to do it in the morning, but you didn't get the opportunity to do so. You have the afternoon, you have the evening, you have the night. If something got in the way, maybe your children needed attention, maybe your job needed your attention, maybe there was something else that was pressing in the moment. It is okay. You can try again. Just because you didn't do it in the moment that it was intended to be done, you can still do it later. Later is always better than never. And I don't want you to have the regrets of not doing it at all, because then this is where you have guilt and you have shame, and all of these negative feelings start attacking you and your self worth, and none of that is productive. Know that you have the opportunity. If you are living and breathing still on this earth in this very moment, you can decide to go after the thing, to do the thing, to be the thing. And know that you have to be graceful with yourself because you have the opportunity to do so. And this is something that is very difficult. It is way easier said than done, but it is possible. Hello. You might have to work a little bit. You might have to work through those negative thoughts, but know that you can do it, and I believe in you. Know that when you are in pursuit of something great, you are paving the way for yourself. To have something you've never had, you must do something that you've never done, and that does come with resistance. The last question for today is, can you be committed to the vision but soft in the process? Can you show up consistently with grace? And I believe, yes, absolutely. Every single time you show up, it should be because you want to and because you get the opportunity to do so, not because you should or because you have no other option. I heard this quote the other day that said, "Be stubborn with your goals and flexible with your methods." I believe that you should have a crystal clear vision of where you want to go. But when you are in pursuit of something that is unknown, something that you've never done before, you can pivot. There are different ways, different methods. You're going to try and you're going to fail, and maybe you're going to try again and you're probably going to fail again. And know that it's okay because it is part of the journey, it is part of the process. When you do anything, when you are pursuing anything, it should be because this is a yearning of your heart. I believe that discipline and consistency go together, but they could be an ugly married couple. And by the way that I say that is that you can have discipline and consistency, but that doesn't mean that you have to be aggressive with yourself or you have to be unkind with yourself, because a lot of people tend to mistake that with aggression and negative self talk and being just way too rough on yourself because you don't do something or you don't do it right. That doesn't mean that that is an attack on your worth. You should not attack your worth. You are worthy of your dreams and your goals, and you are worthy of pursuing them, and you deserve some grace, because how is anything going to be done if you are aggressive with yourself or if you are beating yourself up for not having the outcome that you want to have? I believe there is a balance to it all. There is a balance between consistency and discipline and being stern and have integrity, but also being kind and graceful with yourself because you are living for the very first time. The fastest way to not get anything done at all right is to just beat yourself up about it to the point where you don't want to do it at all because it has become a negative experience for you. And this is enough to throw your dreams out the window. Only you can figure out the balance for yourself. And on this journey, I just hope that you are kind with yourself and that you see yourself for the potential that you have. It is never too early or too late. You are never too young or too old. And you are exactly where you are meant to be. And in this moment, if you are still listening, in this moment, you have every single thing that you need to get it done. You are going to gain some lessons along the way. You might have stumbles and detours and delays on your journey, but nonetheless, you must continue, you must prevail. If you try something and you maybe didn't show up today or tomorrow or the next couple of months or the past couple of months, know that you have the opportunity to start today, right now. This moment is called the present for a reason. The present moment is truly a gift. And there is so much hope in that because the seed that you plant today through slow, consistent nurturing, watering, one day you will see the sproutling, and someday you will eat the fruit, or someday you will see the beautiful flower that grows from the efforts that you do today, from the seeds that you plant today. Here is your reminder that you don't need to be perfect to start. You don't need more equipment. You don't need another certification. You don't need another degree. You don't need another excuse for why you haven't started. Start today. Start messy. Start unprepared. Start with fear. Start unprepared. Just start. You'll figure it out along the way. You'll learn the lessons along the way. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent enough to stay in the room and move with momentum. Once you gain that momentum, oh my goodness, it's much easier. I hope that this message really resonated with you. I really hope that you share this message with anybody that might need it. And I hope that you can take one actionable step towards your goals this week. Try being your own butler. Try going on a color walk. Try meditating on your goals and your dreams. Try being still for a moment and see where that leads you. Try writing in your journal every single day for 7 days. Try anything. Take the first step. The first step is always the scariest, but trust me when I say that if you fail, you can try again. This week, I invite you to reflect on your goals and aspirations. I invite you to reflect on that. Reflect on something that you have been struggling to be consistent with. I don't know what it is for you, but I know what it is for me. In this moment, right after this episode is done, if you are willing and able to, take one small step towards that goal today, whatever it may be. One small, gentle step. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for engaging. Thank you so much for joining me on this comeback episode of Visionary Thoughts podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope that this message resonated with you. Please follow Visionary Thoughts Pod on all social media and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Share your pits and peaks with me in the comment section down below. And of course, I'll see you in the next episode of Visionary Thoughts. Remember that you don't have to be perfect to start, but to start anything, you have to be willing to take that first step. And that first step starts in the mind. Everything starts as a thought. I hope to see you next time. Keep believing in yourself because I believe in you. And together we can make all our thoughts visionary thoughts. I am your host, Daniela, and I will see you next time. Bye.